Turn it off and on. Make sure it's on. So if we could give a warm round of applause to our director, Diana, if I get this right, our producer, Bhavana Koparaju. Do I have that right? Okay, good.
Bhavana, and thank you everyone.
Thank you all for coming. So what we've seen here is a very layered story with many cross-cultural elements. I'm not sure we've had a film that has this much texture to it in terms of cross-cultural. And the fact that the setting is in the US, but involves many groups here, including Navajo Nation. So I think the first question I want to ask, first to congratulate you on an extremely good film. And I think a long trajectory, am I right? Because the girls were born in 2009, and when we leave them, they're 13, so we're in 2022. So obviously the question won't be to fill us in on what's happened since, but I think the key question is, it looks like you have been with them from the very beginning, or maybe some of the footage resided with them, with the families. When did you attach yourself to the project? And give us a little bit of the sense of perseverance and staying with this over a very long course of time.
Well, thank you everyone, and thank you Middlebury Film Festival for having us. So in 2017, I was considering adoption, and I was living here, and I didn't know if I could adopt, and so I started looking around, and I landed on the Huffington Post article that you see in the film with all the comments. And so I wrote to Lakshmi saying, hey, I'm an immigrant, I live here, and you're the only person I know that is kind of adopted over here. And so that was my initial contact with her. And then I also kind of at the side told I'm a filmmaker and I've not seen this on screen. I would be interested if you are okay with that. So I pitched a 3-day shoot for a short film, and I know the filmmakers in the room know how that goes. So she invited me to come, but she did have a condition. She's like, I don't know how the children are going to respond to this, and my husband was definitely a no. So you can come and meet us and then figure this out. So I go home. I did tell her I was going to come with the camera gear, and I would only do anything if they agreed to. So we went, and the children loved the camera gear. We took it out, and they were building the camera with me. And they were just, they are like documentary gold, like they were instant, we were a hit, kids and we got along. Mom was definitely interested in telling her story. Dad was not so sure, but like always, he comes along for the ride. So that's how it started, and I think after the first 2 shoots, I knew this was longer than that. But I don't think they were in a place because, they did not want their children's life playing out on camera. So their acceptance happened over time. So they were 7 when I started filming them in 2017. So I did film from 2017 to 2023. And I kept asking her, do you have archival footage, Did you film anything? And I had no idea there was this blog. I had no idea there was all this stuff filmed. Till almost a year and a half later, when she was like, oh, by the way, there's this other thing. I guess there was this level of trust that came in. And then I got a hard drive with all this material that she was filming for Brandy. From the time the children were with her, she was meticulously documenting and sending this over to her, like head circumference, how many times they pooped, what did they eat, when did they started on what food, who liked avocado, who didn't. Like it was so detailed, and she shared with me. So that's how we got the 10 months to 2017, because she was literally documenting everything for the other mom to have access to, and that became part of the film.
Can you explain whether or not Brandy was a disruptive force in the process of integrating her as Mommy B, or was it somewhat smooth? I mean, the film gives the impression that there were some bumps along the way, but what was your feeling watching up close as to first the mom, the dad, and the two children about integrating Brandy or Mommy B?
Mommy B was always present. Even the first, as in present, as in they talk about Mommy B every single day. Like even the first day I was there, the children just assumed I knew who Mommy B was. You know, like because they talk about her all the time, and so she was always a presence because from the beginning, when these videos are being recorded by Lakshmi, so even though they've met her only a handful of times, she was very much a part of their life. In that sense, they were always talking about her. So I don't think she was a disruptive force. There was a sense of security for the children to know she loves us.
Okay.
And that was very anchored.
You mentioned the word trust. Can you give the folks a sense of whether this was somewhat immediate for you when you entered the picture? Or, again, sometimes when you have this kind of access, where a filmmaker is this close, this personal, there are times where the family can shut down and want to take a break. And sometimes that break becomes permanent. In this case, it was not. But I'm just curious how your trust sequence, your trajectory took place.
So the trust was a couple of layers, right? Like, so one was the parents, right? So right in the beginning, there was rules. I kind of told both moms, you can't ask me what the other person told me. Like, we are not, like, whatever communications happens between the two of you remains between the two of you. But once, what we're talking, because I didn't want to be stuck in that conversation. With the children, it was always, every single time, no matter what the parents said or not, it was always like, today, do you want to get filmed? This is what I want to do. And Anjali, more often than Cecilia, would say no to things. She's like, I'm out of here. Like, so Anjali would choose the few times when she wants to be mic'd, and that was her choice. It seems like I have a lot of access, but even when Brandy had come, Brandy, who's now Kat, came to visit them, it was a 5-day trip, and both moms were like, this is the children's time to be with us. So you can pick one thing every day you want to film, and then you're out of here. Because they don't want their lives playing out on screen in that sense, and they wanted this to be a private time, right? So I do feel like there was, and then when they were going to meet the dad, they agreed to let me on the trip because they were like, they knew that at this point it was critical for the thing, but they didn't want me to film they were like, there's already too much going on, you can interview them, but you're not well. It was not even like, I didn't even have this option of reaching out to the dad's family to even have that, because they were like, the first meeting is off, like you can't be there, because it was already enough pressure. So there were many moments where they categorically said no, and but then they also gave me, as you saw, generous access. So I felt like it's not reality TV, everything going on does not need to be recorded, and if it was not, we'll figure another way to tell that story if it was important.
So it's the end, near the end anyway, where Navajo Nation basically closes ranks and doesn't allow you the access, largely because Daniel is not willing to embrace it. He doesn't have support from his community to say yes to the twins, I think accept them as his own. I felt like there was quite a bit of resistance. You're now saying that you weren't able to go any further because they put the same curtain down in front of you.
No, I mean, so there's two parts, right? Like in terms of filming, but in terms of access, I think the Navajo community is really embracing the children, but the dad's family not so much. They were like, they have legitimized that these are their children, so they've acknowledged that. Mm-hmm. But in terms of real familial connections or the way they have access to Kat's extended family, that is not there on this side. Like even on Kat's side, there's grandparents, there's, all of that access was there. Whereas here, that's not the case. But there's a second sort of complication, right? Like, so even though the community, the people have acknowledged, they cannot get registered formally with the tribe because, so when someone is adopted, your birth certificate gets amended one time with the adoptive parents as parents, and you cannot re-amend it, and the tribe will not register them if the dad is not mentioned, and there's no legal way to do that. So that's something the family really wants to work and have the children, because it's still continuous erasure of, for Native American people in the sense they're losing children through adoption.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That's very interesting. Finally, from my end of things, can we talk about the issue? It was touched on lightly, I think, but there are issues of race here which are explored. The adopting parents, the white mother, Native American father, the twins. What was your sense of this going forward? They're living in the Philly suburbs. Is that where they are? Which I'm assuming was a fairly gracious environment, or am I wrong? Were there issues in school? What did you sense over the 6-year period you were with the family?
I feel like I thought race was at the forefront, but quickly I realized it's class at the forefront, because, the typical, when we're always, race is something we have to constantly contend with in the US, but it's always between white and black, right? Like when here, because, the historically, because we're not looking at from, slavery and, with African American lens, right? Here, class is coming into the forefront a little bit more than race, I would think. And for me, that took a while to lock into. And the second, what was for me systemic I would be filming over here and I'll be like, all the conversations are like, like $5,000 we lost or $6,000 we lost. And then when I'm with Kat, the conversation is like few $100s, which is a barrier to something for her. And sort of like, seeing how little parental support Kat had, even though and so other issues were coming to the forefront that I didn't see as initially was going to be the film. The children definitely feel othered in they're not white enough, they're not brown enough, they're not indigenous enough, so they feel like, they're on the periphery of a lot of things. And Cecilia is a little bit more of wanting to be in everything, and Anjali is, I'm a teen right now, and that's hard enough, I can leave everything else out of it for now. Yeah.
These are all really, really strong answers, and I appreciate it. Bhavna, you're the producer.
Co-producer, yeah.
Co-producer or together. So, but you're attached yourself to this project. Can you give the audience some sense of why? What was it? When did you get attached to the project, and how did you feel about coming into such a very layered, complex sort of family situation?
Yeah. So officially, I came onto the project last year. 2
years back.
Yeah, so time is really bad after COVID, measuring time. But I got to know about the project, and I and Chitra met in 2019. So I made a narrative feature, a Tamil feature, which is mother tongue of Chitra's too. So that's how through that movie is when we met, and that's how after talking to Chitra, I got to meet the story. It used to be our daughters before. And then over the period of time, we did meet, we talked about different stories, what my vision is, what Chitra's vision is. And for me, it's about the story of belonging, identity, and especially the family story. Like what drives me is like, okay, there is something happened, right? There is, for example, adoption happened, but what is it after, right? That is kind of something that all my previous films do, is what drives me, is like what happens after something happened. Especially when we talk about it, it's an issue, it's a news, it's a statistics, but actually it's a family, it's an individual that is affected by something that has happened, especially in the systemic in the society that we live in right now. So when I've seen the story, it's so beautifully made, it's so beautifully connected. For me, it's like the complicated and the complex layers, like multiple layers, because there is no one way of seeing anything. Right? There is no black and white, there is no binary in definitions of anything in our lives. So this complex layer of the story is what drove me. And also for me as a producer, I've been working over a decade of producing films in narrative space. And for me, after producing like 4 narrative films, the distribution aspect of it, right? For a filmmaker to be sustainable, you want to show the story and the film to the audience. And for me, that vision of Chitra's actually made me say yes. And yeah, we believed in the story to take it to the audience all over the globe and not just in US. So yeah.
Very strong. Thank you. Wayne, do you want to take a minute?
I want to say in front of everybody, as a sponsor, I can't think of a better project to send to Indonesia. You know, it touched me. I'm sure there were a few other misty eyes in the audience, especially when you see the Native American woman telling these kids their story, you know, and giving them a hug, showing them weaving. You know, Indonesians have so many stereotypes of what they see and think about as of what America is, and America doesn't always present itself in the kind of way that we're going to see, which, not saying that's typical, but the story is that you give, but it's so beyond what Hollywood ever shows countries like Indonesia about what an American family can be and where they come from. So I just want to, that's really my comment, it's not a question. And then you even reflect it in the music. You have a score that's cross-cultural. You have Indian sounds, you have Western sounds, and whoever did the music is brilliant putting it together. So I really hope, you know, we're going to give a different vision of America to the audience in Indonesia through this film, and to me it's going to be fantastic.
Yeah, that's very well said, Wayne. Thank you. Let's go to the audience. I know there are questions out there. Yes, we're going to need. Is Jill out in the? Jill, are you out there? Thank you. Very timely, Jill. Can you be a runner on this? Thank you. Back here, straight up in the second row.
That was a really beautiful film, and it really choked me up. The mother references very early on, you know, when she becomes pregnant, that it's an extraordinarily special feeling she has with this child. And then that kind of gets dropped. And then you see some snipping between the twins and the third child. And I just wondered over the 6 years what the relationship between the biological daughter was, daughters, and the daughter, and then the twins.
So this is the first time the girls are not at a Q&A. So usually that's the first question. They're like, we're no longer this mean to our sister, or you know, that's the first thing. The first thing they kind of they call her Tiny now, and Cecilia is really protective of her in the sense she's like if Tiny has a crush on someone, she's like this mother hen kind of like talking to her about what she should do with boys and stuff. So they are definitely much more tighter now as siblings. And as far as I feel like I think when Lakshmi says that she feels a different sort of connection with her, I think for her that was a huge light bulb moment to be as like really this dogged advocate of getting the children to have access to mom and dad. And because that's, till then I feel she had read a lot of adoptee blogs and was feeling, yes, this is the right thing to do. but now she knew this was the right thing to do, and I think she just became a ferocious advocate. And I think it was after that, the children had, like, I think from 2019 onwards, just direct text access with Kat. They could text her without any kind of supervision or anything. And now, now it's all the time. So I feel it was a catalyst in sort of enabling that. Yeah.
And there's 3 years separation between?
4.
Who else, please? Down front. If you have a little higher, that's good. Thank you so much.
That was a great film, thank you. I guess I'm really interested in the process you have to leave as light a footprint on your subjects in the telling of their story, in the process of crafting a documentary about their lives, to not influence their narrative or trajectory or perspective. Like, what are some of the checks and balances, or your process that allows you to still have insight into their lives and to record those, but not to affect that as much as you'd like?
So I definitely consulted, it was part of a lot of fellowships, and there was a lot of folks within the documentary world sort of really mentoring and giving that sort of perspective, right? Story structure perspective. I also had several adoptees watch the film, so as we were crafting it, to sort of give us insights. And as a storyteller, like what I kind of went through it. I guess I wanted to adopt when I started making the film, and the more I filmed, I was not sure about it. So a lot of the decisions, I wanted folks to be able to feel some of those moments of, like, when I was filming, I was teary-eyed listening to something, or I was like, wow, I didn't think about this, right? Like, I wanted folks to sort of just be sometimes in Kat's shoes, sometimes in the children's shoes, sometimes in these, this adoptive parent who were desperate to have children, like, and this alchemy of when these three different, it's an ongoing thing. This never ends for them. We can be filming them for another 20 years, and they're going to constantly navigate this, and this is not a one-time thing, and to let people inhabit that space. And biggest learning for me in the making of this film was, do we need to have these limited concrete boundaries of what a film is? Do we need to should the children have to sever ties with one parent to kind of become to have another legal guardian? Can we have more expansive ways of thinking about family, right? So those were things I left with, and I wanted to be more of a adult present in people's life, not unseat their parents. So I don't know if I answered your question, but that was kind of, so I wanted people to sort of just sit with that idea of what is family, how can we all connect with each other in ways that I thought was happening with the people in the story.
Yeah, this is complex storytelling, I do think, and the way you handle it, I think thank you very much, it's a loner. I think it's very complex storytelling. The way you figured out how to go in, step back, go in, I think it's marvelous. I applaud you. This is a great feature documentary, and there's more here. I guess another question hasn't been asked yet about, can you bring us up from 2022 to 2025 in what has happened in the lives of all your characters?
So Cecilia is definitely becoming more of an official name in school. She's going by, and Kat and the children met again last summer. They had gone to Portland, so that relationship is very strong. And after meeting with Dad, there's not been any follow-up from that side of the family. So Lakshmi was kind of let down by that. She was hoping there would be more connection. For Anjali, she's like that relationship was never there, so for her it's a full letting go of that moment. The children love the film, and they feel like it represents their story. Anjali wants to become a filmmaker, so so there's that. So and both of them are wanting to really be part of the social media campaign for the film, and when we're doing theatricals and stuff, they want to be actively involved. For the film side, we see this, I mean, while this is obviously an adoption story, I also feel like this is a cross-sectional American story. And given where we are, I want to take this out on a road trip over summer leading up to the midterm election to every single state in the country and just go through small towns and yeah. Because, you know, it's about people coming together and, you know, so that feels, so we will do we'll be doing our festivals, but all of summer we want to literally go through 50 states and just connect with people, have a meal, watch the film and interact. And hopefully October, November we'll do a mini theatrical kind of thing. So we'll need all of your help for that. Like we've left a little card outside if you've been touched by the film, if you can leave a review on Letterboxd or IMDb, that would be helpful. And if you can follow us on social media, we are Love Chaos Skin Movie. And if there's another festival or another community or a church group that you feel like would want to screen our film, let us know. That'll help us sort of map the summer tour we want to do over next summer.
So this suggests that you're not about to embark on a new film. You're going to take this on a very long train, stay with Love Chaos.
What distribution is filmmaking?
Yeah, I'm working with Love Chaos Skin,
Yes.
distributing it, and we have a plan for like a 2-year plan almost, taking it to every state like Chitra said. I also recently produced a short film, which is a Native American story in Minnesota. But on the point of distribution is a part of filmmaking. I always tell to the filmmakers is like if you're a filmmaker and if you're not thinking about distribution, then you're not a complete filmmaker. Because from my experience, if you don't think about distributions like very early on, so it kind of you're not in an advantage place, and especially for what we are seeing right now with what is going on with a lot of public media funding in the country. So we need to think creatively and collectively to solve.
Yeah.
I am making a short film.
Sure.
It's a companion piece for this film, and I think it's going to be called American Holiday. Because my cousin, and his husband are a gay couple, and they live in Portland as well. But they've adopted 2 children, 2 African American children, and they are in an open adoption that blows my mind even more. And so the children are now 3, and the other one is about a year old, and right from the get-go, they're open, there are two American holidays they spend with the birth family, and I have full access to the story. And again, given where our country is and this question of marriage equality coming into the Supreme Court again, and all of that, I feel like that's a good companion piece. So that I feel like the 2 films together is a portrait of an American family or a chosen family in a way. So we will finish that and take that along as well.
You never know, that could become a feature too. It was better before. Any other questions out there? Oh, we have more questions. There we go. Wait. Mike's coming down. Mike's coming down. Wait. It's ready. There you go.
There's one over here.
Oh, wait. We have 2 in the row just in front.
My question is, you go on the road next year, and there's a 4-year gap. And if you don't have the children with you, how do you keep the interest? Because 4 years is a long time between 13 and 17. And if you don't have the kids to look at, how do you keep interest in a film like that?
Interest for whom?
For the audience. I was sitting here saying, well, what happened to them? We want to know what happened in the next 4 years.
I think this is why I should tell festivals to help us bring the children here, because if we had the money, they'd be here, the summer vacation right now. And they are a delight. I mean, they come to the festivals, they enjoy it, but this, yeah, and we can't. I mean, we really chose not to film them during their teenage years, and the children, if they are interested after they turn 18, and especially if Anjali wants to be, I would co-direct something with them. But yeah, I feel like they've already had a good chunk of their life in front of the camera. They need some time without it.
Right in front. Can you pass the mic? There you go. Right there. Go ahead, Stacy.
Very good film. I enjoyed it. I don't know if you said this or not, but the real mother, did she get her degree? What happened to her?
She still, she also comes to as many of the screenings as we can. She is sort of in, her life is, she's, there's always constant challenges with where things are. And she's in a place where, she's at peace with where she is. She's really happy with the relationship she's having with her daughters. And I think that whatever that evolves into, we don't know, but yeah, that's my answer for that.
There's a question over here.
Same question. Kat is so interesting, and she's the one who seems to have the most unstable situation. So that was my question too: is how's Kat doing?
So Kat is a writer. So one thing, with all of them, when we finished filming, I was like, if there's something, as the film is going into the world, what do y'all want this film to do for you, right? For Kat, it was like, can you help me get some residency so I can write my memoir where I'm not worried about these kind of, that was something that was important for her, and we are, trying to work with, to help with her with that, yeah. But Kat was also someone who I really respect Kat's autonomy. The only time there was any financial exchange between them was that one instance. Kat, no matter what Kat had or not, if Lakshmi sends her a gift, Kat would send something back. And, whatever her means was, sending some little gifts for kids or writing to them, there was a lot of agency and dignity in that process. So I have a lot of respect for where she comes from.
Any last words from the audience? Can we give it really one more round of applause?